Hi, welcome back. My name is Mia and I help you to create holistic clutter-free spaces. And today my intention is to talk about minimalist-ish gifts for kids. Now, I started searching to see what other videos were out there and what other articles were out there about minimalist gifts for kids or something along that line, clutter-free gifts for kids. And there wasn't a whole lot. There's not a very big selection. I watched some of the videos, not a whole lot of information out there. And then I went to make this video myself and I understand why there are so many different factors. Every kid is different. You got boys, you got girls, you've got like 17 to 18 years worth of different ages, and each age is so very different from the last. So this is absolutely not an all-inclusive minimalist gift guide for kids. And a lot of the things that I mentioned in this video are actually things, I feel like they're things that paid off and were worth it. You know, there are some things that are worth the space. You know, they last a long time. They get used a lot. They're great for like physical fitness or something like that, that I feel like are worth it. And those are things that you need to consider when you're making those deals with your space, what to keep, what not to keep, what to buy and what not to buy. Like I have always been anti like plastic Barbies and plastic Barbie accessories and like the plastic cars and the little outfits. I'm like, my kids can't keep track of their human-sized outfits and accessories. Like there's no way that they're going to be able to keep track of tiny little miniature accessories. I mean, does any kid really keep track of that well? I like to stay away from the little plastic things as much as possible, with the exception of Legos, which I just think are a classic and are great for cognitive abilities and building skills, you know? So look, I talked to Matt, who obviously had a boy childhood. I've talked to both of my girls. I am a little bit biased towards girls because that's been my experience, and I grew up with a sister and there were two of us girls. Really, I tried to think of some ideas or ways to switch things into working for a boy, but you know, we'll see. Maybe you'll get some ideas that you can morph into your own creation for a great idea for your kid that's not going to be super cluttered or something that they're just going to toss away somewhere. That is the idea. So go ahead and click the thumbs up button and let's dive in, because I have 25 things to share with you today. Number one is a journal. My daughter actually bought this little journal for herself just recently. Matt has informed me that no little boy would actually like a journal. So this may be one of those just unigender things. I don't know. But ever since my girls were little, like elementary school, even kindergarten, they've loved the idea of journals, even when they had nothing to write in it except for listing their friends. Journals, and especially ones that have locks on them. I've even had my girls ask for just a set of locks with a key for Christmas to use with their journals. So I think the journals are a really cool idea. It gets them working on writing. They can do different kinds of crafts or scrapbooking. This particular one doesn't even have lines, so you can use it really for whatever you want. And I think that especially for any girls ages 6 and up, that a journal, especially if you can find one with the lock on it, would be a loved gift and would also be beneficial because journaling is cool. Which brings me to my second gift idea, which is art supplies. And in this case, I'm going to say art pens, just because it goes really good with a journal and anything else. You can use it with like construction paper, just a notepad. So I think that really cool art pens are good. Now, the quality of art pen or marker or crayon or whatever, obviously that's just going to vary depending on the age of your kiddo. So maybe you don't want to get pens for your 3-year-old. Maybe you want to go the crayon route. I would say that junior high kids up for sure would really like the art markers. You can tell the good ones because they have the numbers on the end. So like you can see the numbers on the ends of these. That means that they have a very specific color to them, and those tend to be the higher quality markers. In general, art supplies I think are great in any kind of media. Clays, paints, crayons, markers, pens, pencils, charcoals, or something kind of cool to try out. So again, these are just some of those worth it gifts. A couple of weeks back, I did a video on things that I only own one of, and one of the things that I shared was these little black earbuds that just fit so perfectly into your ears. They connect to anything with Bluetooth, and other kinds like stuck out of my ear and would fall out. But these are great. They worked out so well for me that my daughter actually saved up her own money and bought herself a pair. So number 3 is earbuds or headphones. And I should say right now that this is in no prioritized order. This is literally like from my brain to the computer. So don't take anything out of that as far as like the top of the list being better than the bottom of the list. It's really just all the list. But number 3, I would say, is earbuds or headphones. For example, another thing that one of my daughters got was some headphones that can flip out and be speakers. When they're flipped in, they're headphones, and when they're flipped out, they're speakers. And she loved those, and she's actually requested another pair this Christmas because the previous pair got broken. So earbuds and headphones are great. They'll keep you from getting a headache when they're listening to things that you don't particularly want to hear. And also they may be a necessity for school, especially if you're doing the online schooling. Number 4 is a water bottle. And yes, if you watched last week's video that was about gifts for adults, you'll see that there too. And that's because I think that everybody should have a water bottle. Again, it just gives the kids something to not go reach for another glass every time they want to drink. So it helps to keep down the dishes, and it makes sure that they're well hydrated, because a lot of times they're just too lazy to get up and go get a drink or go get a healthy drink. So water bottles, I feel like, are great for any age, and they can look really cute. As a matter of fact, this is the one that my oldest daughter, who is now 14, has requested for Christmas. And I didn't set her up to it. She, on her own, found these water bottles and really wants one. Number 5 is bath stuff. I think that bath stuff is great for all people, whether you're a boy, girl, any age. The type of bath stuff that you get changes, but the fact that bath stuff is cool is kind of always relevant. So for younger kids, things like bath bombs I think are pretty cool. Even if it's a boy, you can get them like a green or a blue bath bomb, maybe even the effervescent kind that has cool bubbles that come up. You can get the things that hatch into animals in the bath. Things that are usable and not necessarily like living in the bath forever, I think are great. And then of course, as your kids age, they might require some more high-end bath products, like from Bath and Body Works or wherever boys get their high-end bath products. Another thing that kids generally need every year, because either they grow out of it or the previous one gets gross, is a jacket. So number 6 is a jacket, and jackets don't have to be boring. Last Christmas, I got myself a really cool leather jacket that has pleats and a hood, and anyway, both of my kids went crazy over it. My youngest specifically requested that I get her the exact same jacket for Christmas, so this is what I ended up getting her for Christmas, and she was super excited to be able to have a jacket that looked just like mine and that was black and leather, and she thought it was really cool. So jackets are something that kids will always need every single year. They aren't necessarily cheap. They make great gifts. Number 7 is experiences. I have to throw this in there. Maybe you're tired of hearing about it, but I know for a fact that my kids, at least for their birthdays, have come to really prefer experiences. What we started doing a couple of years back is I took my oldest, we went and got sushi, we went and got our nails done at the nail salon, we got, just had a girls' day. And she thought that that was so special. She looks forward to it every year, that now that's what both of them want every time it's their birthday. So it's like sushi for my youngest daughter is a requirement every birthday, that just the two of us have to go get sushi, and then we go do something else. Experiences are great, and they may cost the same amount of money, but you're also not bringing anything new in the door. We once planned a Disney vacation right in between their birthdays, because one's in March, one's in May, and we said we got one big birthday present and we went to Disneyland. So depending on how you celebrate Christmas, this may or may not translate into Christmas, but just for gifts in general, experiences I think are great things. Another thing that I think is really cool, especially for younger kids, and we actually still have these because we still think it's kind of cool, is bunchums. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. I mean, if you're thinking like along the lines of Legos or buildable stuff, this stuff is pretty cool. Like, I mean, it doesn't make a mess. I mean, it easily doesn't make a mess. As long as you just squish it together, that's it. So you don't have to worry about leaving pieces off. You just squish it together and it's together. And you can make all different kinds of cool little animals with it. And you can use the different colors. And there are patterns inside of the little paper that I was holding up. So I've made like an owl out of it in the past. Right now, I am not making anything. This is just a blob to show you what it is. But they're just these little tiny pieces. Anyway, I remember thinking that these were really cool when I got them for my daughters. I don't even remember what year it was, sometime in elementary school. And we've held on to them all this time because it's just it just feels good taking them apart and putting them together and making little designs. It's kind of like reusable Play-Doh that's less messy. Number 9, just like the jacket, anybody that you know who has a kid knows that they're going to need new shoes. Every single year, kids are going to need new shoes. Their feet are going to grow. At most ages in a child's life, their feet are growing. And aside from that, they get gross. So a lot of times the shoes don't even make it a full year before they look gross. No matter how quality the shoes are, they can still get so gross somehow. But shoes are always a great purchase. You've got so many different kinds of shoes. You know, my youngest daughter loves boots. She'll run all over the place in her like black cowboy boots. She's done that since she was like this high, and now she's 12 and still loves boots. And they can get really excited about having a nice pair of shoes. Number 10, you can't really talk about today's generation of kids without talking about tech. Honestly, you couldn't talk about my generation of kids without talking about some kind of tech. It is what it is. Maybe you're for buying tech things. Maybe you're against buying tech things. Our kids love tech. Matt and I both love our tech, so we're not against it. And the thing is, technology usually comes with accessories. So number 10 is tech accessories. So that could be a stylus for the phone, the iPad, the Switch, the Nintendo 3DS, you know, just whatever types of accessories it needs. It could be a new controller for their Xbox or PlayStation. It could be like any of the other weird controllers, like a wheel that goes with some of the racing games on some of those consoles. You know, you can just ask, is there any kind of accessory that you need to go with any of your technology? Cell phone cases, that's another type of accessory, and there are all kinds of cell phone accessories. That's like a whole world of its own. Whether they're a leapfrog age or a teenager with a cell phone and all of the works, use your best judgment. Number 11 is books. Luckily, my oldest daughter, like half of her Christmas list this year is books, and I think that's great. I think that books are always going to be a great gift for kids, whether it's on the Kindle or it's a hardback or paperback, you know, just as long as you're remembering that when they grow out of it or outage the book, that you can donate it to a library or a donation center or trade it out with somebody. So I think books are always a good purchase. One thing that I can remember that stands out in my head is the Guinness Book of World Records books. My daughter really wanted those one year for Christmas, and they both got a lot of enjoyment out of just looking at all the cool pictures. And so I think the books like that are really popular if you don't know what kind of book specifically they read. And there's always some cool stuff to look at in there. Number 12 is fresh PJs. I don't care what age you are, fresh PJs are great. It's one of my favorite things in the world to get as gifts, as my family knows, because they're always buying them for me every year, and I love it. And kids love it too. You can get the cutest little footsies, and you know, like you can go all out for any age. That's something else that, like, if they got some last Christmas and they've been washed all year, well, now they're not really soft anymore, or they're stained or whatnot. So Christmas is actually a great time to get new pajamas, and I think a lot of people do. Which brings me to number 13, which is tied for pajamas with my first favorite thing in the world, and that is slippers. Actually, I'm wearing some right now. Don't judge me. Yeah, I like the little animal face, and I like the really soft fur. Yeah, I'm a big fan of house shoes. And this is something I think that's been ingrained in me since I was a kid, because in Christmases when I was growing up as a kid, the whole family would get these like giant animal paw house shoes. And we thought that it was so funny, but also so comfortable. Like, haha, it's funny, but also we really love it. So I think that house slippers can be a lot of fun, especially if you get really creative with it. And they also are beneficial because they keep your feet warm. Number 14 is scooters. Now, I think that any kind of outdoor roller that the kid is actually going to use is going to be great. My kids never really took to bikes, but there's nothing quite as compact and just versatile, I feel like, as the scooter. I mean, look how compact this is. You can put it anywhere, and it's also a lot of fun. And I know that kids of all different ages use it. I can even use it. It'll bear my weight. So I really do. I like the Razor scooters. One of the more fun and exciting gifts that you can get for a kid who doesn't already have a scooter is something like that. Now, moving back away from the things again, another great idea is a class, dance class, karate class, cooking class. And if you want to even take it up another notch, I say a class with a special token. So enroll them in ballet class and you buy them the ballet flats. And along that same train of thought, memberships, zoo memberships, the science museum memberships, climbing gym memberships, those things that they can use year round. And again, if you want to go above and beyond with those, you can get them a little token to go with it. Climbing gym membership with the climbing shoes. That would be a cute little gift for a kid who is really into stuff like that. Okay, now if your kid is of at least a responsible enough age, you know your kid better than I do, so it just depends on their level of maturity. My daughter got this Polaroid camera, and I think that that is a great purchase for a kid. So this is another one of those gifts that I feel like is a thing, but worth it because of the value that they get out of it, and just because it's really cool. My oldest had requested the Polaroid camera, and we went ahead and got her the accessories that go with it. So you get this leather case that goes with it. And then my mother-in-law got her this Polaroid camera. This one is Fujifilm Instax Mini 26. She's gotten a lot of use out of it and has actually taken really good care of it. Another gift that I think would be great for kids of minimalists is a memory box. This is something that I talk a lot about. You can see it in my video on sentimental items, like what to do with sentimental clutter, that we use memory boxes for both of the girls. They have their own, and they're able to store things in there, like favorite pieces of art, pictures of them and their friends, like different memorabilia that they want to hold on to that fit into this large box. Now, Matt told me that no little boy is going to get excited about a memory box. He said when he was 8 that he would have rather had a lightsaber than a memory box. And I said, au contraire, if it's like a big, cool treasure chest looking memory box or a pirate ship treasure chest looking memory box or something, I think that there were some boys out there that would get really excited about that. I don't know. You know your kid better than I do. I'm just thinking outside of the box or inside of the box, that you could get creative with your memory boxes. They don't have to be like floral flip top things. You can make them look like a treasure chest. You can make them look like whatever you want. Like it could be a shape of anything. As long as it holds the belongings, then it's still doing its purpose. So, okay, another thing that my family is really into is games. We love board games, card games, all different kinds of games. In fact, Matt and I, as the adults of the family, have, when it's not COVID, of course, pre-COVID, we have our own Friday night board game nights with friends. So we're really into games, but I have some here that we play with the girls that are really a hit, and you can play with a lot of different ages on some of these. This one is Love Letter. This is a family favorite. It's one of my favorites. My youngest daughter is 12, and she's the one who requested that we get a replacement because our last one got ruined on a camping trip. The kids love it. We love it. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't take up much space, but it's a really cool game. Another one that I've had a lot of luck with the kids, again, this was at least my youngest favorite, is Minecraft the card game. It's actually a pretty decent game. I was not expecting much with playing it, but it ended up being a pretty decent game. And again, this one was one of her favorites for a long time. Dragonwood, I've had a lot of luck with my kids and my kids' friends, all really loving this game as well. It's a card game. It's got trolls and, you're all like trying to fight for the most points, like most games, right? But it's got dragons and trolls and spiders and just different types of really cool cards, and it's a fun game. And then the last one that I'm going to show you, because it's one of my favorites and it's very simple, is King Domino. And it's, I guess, kind of domino-esque, but not really. Like you are matching like to like you do in Domino, but King Domino uses lands, and it's a lot of fun. It's really simple. It also helps you to work with math. I played with kids as young as the 3rd grade. Now, I'm begrudgingly going to throw in Uno because my kids insisted, even though I personally don't care much for it. Apparently the kids love it. Something that is beneficial, collects clutter, and is financially motivating is a piggy bank with one of the little countertops on it. My daughter requested this last year. She still loves it. She's still collecting change and putting it in there. She's already got almost $50 in this thing. And this one was super cheap. It's not even glass, it's plastic, but the counter works really well. Number 20 is Fandom attire. So if you have a kid, like most of us do, who's really into a certain theme of something, now would be a great time to get them some clothing that goes along with that theme that usually you're not going to go out of your way to get, right? Like most of the time, I'm not going to go out of the way to get one of my daughters an It shirt or a Pokemon shirt or, whatever they're in at that particular age of their life. But on a special occasion, when you're trying to get them some things that they're really going to love, that's a great time to look into what they're excited about. What type of fandom are they into? And maybe make a little extra trip to a store that you don't usually go to get something like that. Number 21, I have to throw in there, not because the kids are going to get excited about it, but because the parents are going to get excited about it and the dentist is probably going to get excited about it. And that's a Sonicare toothbrush. If your kid doesn't already have a Sonicare toothbrush, they need a Sonicare toothbrush. It's not all hype. These things work really well. And every time we go to the dentist is like, oh, great, you're using a Sonicare. So this is one that we bought our daughter recently because her previous one stopped working. We had gotten her one of the kids' versions. And so we wanted to get her something that would stand out a little more. And she actually did get really excited about this. Now, granted, she's 14 and not 6, but she was excited because it's an all black Sonicare toothbrush. So it, stands out from all the other ones. And it may not be something that the parents are actually able to invest in themselves. For kids who have phones or for adults who have phones, number 19 is a phone holder. And surprisingly, I bought this on a whim because I had some extra credits for a store, But this thing works really well. So well that I went back and bought another one. And so now we have 2 in the house, and we probably need 3 because between me and both of the girls, all 3 of us are always like kind of passing it back and forth. But these things work really well. They're super simple. In fact, I had bought one that was a lot more complicated, and that's the one I ended up returning and exchanging for another one of these simple ones because it just does its job like it's supposed to. Room upgrades. One thing that is very minimalist is to buy gifts that are upgrades to what people currently have. That way they can donate what they have, and it's not just buying more and more of extra things, but it's keeping things for their longevity and then upgrading them when they need an upgrade. When it comes to kids, because they're going through so many different phases of their lives, there are different design styles that are going to change along that path as well. So, from going to toddler room decor to elementary room decor, and from that to a preteen, and from that to like a more mature teen room decor, like all of these are going to change, and no teen wants to still be sleeping in her princess sheets, right? It's just a fact of life, and you may be at that year where one of your kids or one of the kids that you're shopping for is ready for that room upgrade. Number 24, we're pulling back for digital things. There are so many things that fall under this umbrella, but I'm going to try to hit on some of them. Media, like the movies, the books, the music. You've got apps, some apps that cost money, software, or more commonly, video games, computer games. In other words, about half of my 12-year-old's Christmas gift list. We live in a digital age, and there are many things that can be purchased digitally. Another consideration, especially considering that a lot of kids are doing online schooling from home or hybrid programs from home, is anything that would help them when it comes to their schooling. For example, something like this would allow your kids to be able to stand up and work for a while if they want to move around a little bit. If you have a table that's not at just the right height, then you could use something like this. Even thinking along these lines, especially in the current landscape, is not a bad idea. And last but not least, anything that is homemade. I am making my daughter's homemade crocheted blankets for the first time because I just learned to crochet like a month ago, and I've been really into it ever since I learned, surprisingly. And they love the waffle pattern that I'm learning, so they both requested that I make them a blanket. So I'm going to be making them homemade blankets for Christmas. And I think something like that is really valuable because it's something they can keep forever. When they move out of the house, that's something that they'll have from their childhood that I made them with my own hands. And I think that's really cool. So that's it. That's what I got for you folks. If you haven't yet, then you should go check out my other video on gift ideas for minimalists.